Okay, so hello and welcome to this webinar, Create Your 2020 Vision and Design Your Dream Decade. Thanks to those who are joining live, and if you're watching on catch up, it's wonderful that you're here also. So for those who are joining live, you can stop me at any point. You can ask a question in the chat box. You can unmute yourself and ask a question, but bear in mind that you are being recorded. And both for your benefit, if you're here live, and for anyone on the recording, I'm going to explain a little bit about how this webinar is going to work. So this is my third webinar of 2020. So I've been quite busy. I'm going to call myself Webinar Woman because I've been doing them quite a lot. But I have lots to share and some really exciting things that I'd like to share with you, hence all the webinars. So how this is going to work is I'm going to talk, if you have your workbook with you, so there's a link in the chat box that takes you to the workbook that you can download if you don't have it with you. There's a PDF and there's a Word file. PDF if you want to print, the Word file you can complete on the computer. So we're not going to go all the way through that, but we are going to use that as a prompt. So you might want to have that with you, or a notebook, piece of paper, something like that. So I'm going to talk you through some of my ideas around how to create your 2020 vision and design your dream decade for about 40 minutes. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the fantastic programs and courses and retreats and so forth that I've got going on this year. And then there'll be a Q&A. And then for those of you who have further questions or who'd like to hear more about my programs, my courses, my retreats, please stay on, and there'll be some extra time for that. And also at the end, there's an opportunity to have a one-to-one discovery call with me, so I'll explain how to book that in. So just to tell you a little bit about me for the benefit of those who don't know me. So I am a love, dating and relationships coach and a midlife mentor. So I coach, and I have two areas of speciality. One is love, dating and relationships, primarily starting with our relationship with ourselves, which obviously is important for all areas of our life. And I also coach around midlife mentoring, around changing your life, often in midlife. And it is midlife because many of the people who come to work with me are in the same place that I was in when I completely changed my life. So I was in my 40s I was in my late 30s when I quit my job as a political journalist, and in my 40s when I launched a coaching practice and wrote a book and really started to work at my passion and in a different way. So the reason I do this work, the reason I write, I blog, I write for the media, and I've written my book is that I believe that the journey I have been on could be really useful to other people. And I know it is because I hear that from my coaching clients. So my journey from feeling trapped, feeling lost, feeling completely soul dead in my career, to creating a business that I love. It can be a bit of a hustle. It can be challenging. It can be uncertain, but I feel alive rather than soul dead. I changed my relationship status, my relationship patterns that were dysfunctional and self-sabotaging and made me miserable, in order to commit to a relationship with a healthy person, fall in love and get married 6 months ago. So I have changed many areas of my life. I also have recovered from an eating disorder, binge eating, as well as binge drinking, as well as compulsive overworking. Now, overwork is one of the things that I still struggle with, hence the 4 webinars that I'm hosting this January. But, I really like working, but sometimes I have to be careful that I don't use it as a distraction from my feelings. And just while I'm on those webinars, if you are interested in the webinars that I've run so far. So I'm running a How to Fall in Love series. I've run two, one on healthy foundations, one on face your fears and change your patterns. And I have a third webinar on Thursday, the 16th. Let me just mute all. Yeah. On Thursday the 16th, I have a third webinar on change your dating dynamic, and they are all available as recordings. They're on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link to that in the box later. So they're the How to Fall in Love series, but this is all about our life, all areas of our life, creating a vision, and that could be for our relationships, for our work, for our health, for our bodies, for where we live, and designing a dream decade. So yeah, just to highlight my book, it's also behind me there, How to Fall in Love, and it's not just for single people, and it's not just for women. I have had male entrepreneurs read my book and tell me that it was really helpful, because it's about your relationship with yourself and building a healthy relationship with yourself. So I'm just going to share my screen, and as I said earlier, if you could have a pen, paper, notebook to hand. So just telling you a little bit about, the last decade for me, and I wrote a blog called Deconstructing Our Decade, and you can find that on my blog, which is From 40 with Love. I'll link to that later. But when I took stock of my last decade, and I do have a workbook actually that you can use also to take stock of your last decade. So there's a link in the chat box that you'll find will take you to this workbook 2020, and also the Deconstruct Your Decade. But as I deconstructed my last decade, I discovered that I had made a lot happen. Now, I don't consider myself to be someone who is brilliant at setting goals and intentions and actually making them happen. I feel like I bumble along a little bit, but as I took stock of my decade, I found that, yeah, I had really made things happen. So I had changed my career, and that's not a simple career change. That is going from entirely lost to found, and completely dead to alive. So I was working as a political journalist. I burnt out. I broke down. It was a massive job. I was in Parliament. I travelled with the Prime Minister, but it didn't feed my soul anymore. And I overworked in that job because of my low self-esteem and my fear and my imposter syndrome and all those things that some of us suffer with. So I burnt out, I broke down, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I meandered for a few years trying to find my way, and ultimately writing and blogging brought me back to myself. And then I built this coaching business based on the things that I have learned in my own transformation. So changed my career, moved out of London to the coast. Again, that was a heart's desire. I'd written it on my blog 2 years before it actually happened, which I believe shows the importance of writing things down and claiming our dreams. So I moved to the sea. I wanted to live by the sea. And if you follow me at all on social media, you'll see that I swim in the sea all the time. I published my book, How to Fall in Love. I ended a cycle of dead-end and dysfunctional relationships, and I fell in love with an emotionally healthy man. I got engaged. I got married 6 months ago. I grew my coaching practice, and I hosted 7 retreats. Now, I say this because I wanted to host a retreat ever since I went on a retreat and saw someone else hosting a retreat. And we'll come to this a little bit later. But when you see other people doing things and you think, gosh, I really want to be doing that. So maybe you see someone in a relationship, or maybe you see someone living by the sea, or someone writing a book. They're the things for me. And you think, I want to be doing that. And I made those retreats happen. And I have to say that I did them scared, and I did the first one before I was ready, and I highly advocate that practice. It was, I'm a professional, I work hard, and I don't drop the ball very often. So it went really well. But I think sometimes we have to do things before we are ready. You know, often we have to take an idea and run with it. In the last decade, I continued to heal from binge eating and binge drinking, and I rediscovered my true self, which is obviously an ongoing journey. So, you know, you might like to take stock of your past decade. We're not going to do that right now because we've got a lot to get through, but perhaps after this webinar, take a look at my blog. You might want to deconstruct your decade. Now, this is important not to beat ourselves up because we might not have achieved what we want to, but to congratulate ourselves for the things that we have done, and also to notice the desires of our heart that we've ignored, that we haven't spent time pursuing. So that's a useful exercise. In pictures, my decade, my book, my engagement, my retreats. So on the left is my Dorset retreat, and then my Turkey retreat. Both of those are running again this year, and my wedding on a beautiful day in June. So, and you know, there is hope. So just a little quote from one of my lovely coaching clients. Because if you think that you don't know how to change your life, or you don't know how to get your spark back, you know, don't just listen to me. There are people I am working with, and people working with other coaches, obviously, who are on the right path and finding their spark again. So Catherine helped me to build my confidence, gave me really helpful practical advice on my next steps, and held my hand all the way. I now feel confident about my choices and feel like I'm properly on the path to creating a life that's more fulfilling and happier than I've ever experienced before. I feel free. And obviously this isn't a linear process. You know, we have good days, we have bad days, the same in my work, in my business. Sometimes I feel free, sometimes I feel trapped, sometimes I feel overwhelmed, sometimes I feel fearful, sometimes frustrated. But there is hope because we're moving in the right direction. And that's what this webinar is about. It's about identifying our direction and then moving in that direction. So I'm going to ask you this. You might have done the workbook already. So I'd just like to start with one of the first exercises in that workbook. And this is about your values. This is about your values. So if that term doesn't mean much to you, bear with me. But I'm just going to invite you for a moment to close your eyes. I often do this, so I hope you're somewhere comfortable and safe. Just close your eyes and place your hand somewhere where you feel that you connect to yourself. So for me, that's often on my chest, over my heart, sometimes my tummy where my intuition is. So just place your hand somewhere where you connect to yourself. And just think about your values. In simple terms, this is what is really important to you. This is what matters to you. This is your guiding light. And you might want to pick three, your top three values, or you could think about more, but try and get clear on your most important values. These are the things that are really true for you. Now close your eyes, open your eyes. And, you know, I'd love you to, I'm going to go back again. I'd love you to, if you can, if you'd like to just chat, put something in the chat box about your values. What are your core values? And as you do that, if you can do that, you might not want to, you can answer privately to me or to the whole group. It's up to you. Your chat won't appear on the recording. And if you answer privately to me, I won't read your name out. So don't worry about that. So your values, now as you think about yours, I'm just going to tell you about mine. Authenticity. So hopefully I come across as authentic. That is one of my primary values, one of the things that has really, well, it's completely changed my life and changed my business. It's funny, we think that we are showing weakness when we admit that we struggle with things. But my life completely changed, my career completely changed when I began to own up publicly about my struggles. So about my eating disorder, about feeling lost and lonely at 40, single, no children, the struggle I felt, about depression, about possibly taking antidepressants, all these questions that and issues that I might have hid before. In fact, I did hide them because I wasn't particularly aware of them. I was living in a daze. I was binge eating and binge drinking and traveling and adrenaline seeking. So I wasn't connected to myself or my feelings. But when I started being authentic, everything changed. I had desperately wanted to be on television as a journalist, and I tried, and I got on a few times to talk about politics and things like that. But it was hard. It was a struggle. And then I became authentic. I started writing about eating disorders, talking about my own binge eating disorder, talking about self-esteem and confidence. And it was much easier to get on television. I was on television and I felt much more confident in what I was saying. I felt much more authentic. So adventure is another of my values. And it always has been. I've always loved adventure, especially outdoors. And I suppose running my own business is an adventure. So I also love adventure travel and going abroad and a little bit of danger. Not as much as I used to, but I love adventure. Creativity is another value of mine. So I smile because creativity, I wrote my book and that required creativity, and I'm writing more books. But in my business, I use my creativity every day, creating a PowerPoint, which isn't hugely beautiful or dynamic, but I use my creativity every day in my social media posts, in my blogs, and that makes me smile. It brings me to life. Courage is another value. It takes courage to stand here, especially because I'm talking into a computer screen, and it's difficult to get interaction, and so it takes courage to do this. It takes courage to leave a very steady, secure job with a pension and all those benefits, to go out on your own and to see your salary, halve, actually more than that. I think it's probably a fifth. I earned a fifth in my first year of self-employment compared to what I was earning before. Love and service are some other values of mine. I'm just going to check. Yeah, thanks for your comments. I'll come to that now. So courage, love, I write about love. I show love wherever I can. Doing my work, sharing what I know is an act of love and an act of service. So they are my values. They are what feel true to me. They bring me to life. They make me feel alive. So have a think about yours. Somebody's commented some values: making a difference, empathy, supporting vulnerable people, adventure, travel and exploration, friendship, equality. So thank you for commenting. So if you think about your values, you can have many. You can have more than I've got. What have I got? 6 there. Making a difference comes in for me for love and service. And if you saw your workbook, you will see I've divided, making a difference is one of the sections that I have in the latter bit of the workbook around imagining what steps you want to take. But so your values are the things that bring you alive and the things that guide your life. And I just have a little challenge for you, which is how can you practice those values every day? So this will bring you alive and it will make you much happier. And this means that you're going to find it much easier to make any changes that you want to make, because you'll be feeling good. So I don't know if you've experienced depression, but I definitely have. And from a depressed place, it's very hard to make changes, especially changes that require courage. And when I wasn't using my creativity, when I wasn't being authentic, when I didn't have any adventure in my life, when I wasn't being of service, when I wasn't being courageous, when I didn't have any love, I was really unhappy, quite depressed. And as soon as I started employing some of those values on a daily basis, authenticity and adventure and creativity, I felt a huge amount better, and it was so much easier to make changes. So as an example, authenticity, how can I do that every day? I can do these webinars, I can blog, I can do a social media post that is real. I have a Facebook group, a free Facebook group for women called Being Real, Becoming Whole, where I encourage vulnerability and authenticity. Adventure, how can I have adventure every day? What does that look like? Well, often it's an adventure to do some of my work, but just getting down on the beach this morning, I was there for 7:30. It was still dark. The sun was just coming up and there were only 2 other people there. And, you know, even though it's the beach and it's pool and it's not it's not wild at all. It felt adventurous. It felt free. It felt free. Freedom is another of my values. And creativity, I can use my creativity every day. And I do. So today was my writing day. Tuesday is my writing day. And gosh, I struggle. I struggle to write. I struggle to not look at my emails and to do my other work. But I did today. I wrote and I spent a good, 3-4 hours writing, I'd say. Which for me is really good. So creativity, but I also use my creativity just when I write a blog, when I do a social media post. And courage, how can I show up with courage every day? How can I show love? I can make my husband lunch tomorrow. That's a good way of showing love. And how can I be of service? So have a think, look at your values and have a think how you can use them every day. How can you use those values every day in small ways? So if anyone else would like to share your values, please do. I'd love to hear them. And I'm just going to move on. Feel free to keep commenting. Spontaneity and fun is another value that somebody's put there in the comments. So the desires of your heart. The desires of your heart. I'm just going to check the time. The desires of your heart. This is really important. Obviously, your heart is so important. What your heart, what you feel in your heart, what your heart wants for you. So I'm just going to invite you again to close your eyes. And we don't have a huge amount of time on this webinar, but I'd like you to take these exercises and do them separately on your own. You could watch the recording again. You could pause it. So the desires of your heart. So close your eyes and place your hand again on your heart, or across your chest and your heart, or across your tummy. But ideally somewhere near your heart, and I'd like you to try and communicate with your heart. So your heart is going to tell you what it desires for your future. You might know this already. It might be very clear. But ask your heart, what do you want for my future? If your heart could speak, what would it say to you? Think about the things that you long for, yearn for. The answer might bring you back to your values. So I think of freedom, abundance, adventure, but perhaps it's more specific. My heart longs to write. And as I say that, a smile comes to my face. My heart longs to write. My heart longs to travel. My heart longs to learn and grow. Especially my heart longs to this year or early next year to go on a trip with women to a sunny climate, to feel empowered, to feel part of a sisterhood. I run amazing retreats abroad myself, but I really want to go on one that someone else is leading. So what does your heart desire for you? You might want to keep your eyes closed and your hand on your heart. I'm just going to talk us through some of the ways we identify the desires of our heart if we're not clear about them. So one of them is when we see someone else accomplishing something or being in a certain way and we feel envious. We really long for that for ourselves. So for me, that's around writing. Whenever I see someone getting a publishing deal or speaking at a literary festival, being interviewed on Desert Island Discs about their writing, I want to be there. I want to be that person on Desert Island Discs talking about my books. I really want to be there. I want to be sat on a stage at a literary festival talking about my books, my self-help books, my autobiography, my novels, and my poems. I want to be there. So that is one of the desires of my heart. So when you see people with something, perhaps you desire to be in a happy, healthy, loving relationship. And you look at all around you and that's all you see. You see people in a happy relationship. And that happened to me in my 40s. Everywhere I went, all I could see was couples, 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 couples. And I longed to be in one. I wanted to be in one. In fact, I had no idea how on earth I was going to be in one. But, eventually I learned where I was going wrong and I changed that. There was a time when I saw babies everywhere, pregnant women, and that was one of the desires of my heart. Perhaps that desire wasn't strong enough because it wasn't strong enough to make that happen on my own. And I didn't want to put that before a relationship. But for a while, it was definitely there. And another desire right now is a dog. So everywhere I go, I see this particular dog that I'd really like, which is a little Cocker Spaniel, sort of red coloured. And I can't take my eyes off that dog. I really would love that dog. So they are some of the desires of my heart. So if you have a pen and paper or your workbook, perhaps just write down what comes to you as you've been standing or sitting here, focusing on the desires of your heart. What comes to you? So just to say, there's something in the chat, somebody's talking about values, I think, and desires, speaking to friends and family every day and blogging on equality and particularly disability awareness. So these are the things that make us hungry. They make us hungry. They make us want to get out of bed in the morning. We feel longing for them. So what are the desires of your heart? And you have your values. and you have the desires of your heart, and you might want to spend more time on both. So when something comes into your life, an opportunity, an offer of a job, an offer of a relationship, an offer of a trip somewhere, ask yourself, does this fit with my values? And does this fit with the desires of my heart? Just going to have a sip of water. So you might want to type some of those desires if you have something from that short meditation. You might want to type them in the box. One of our participants says that she'd like to support people with mental health difficulties and remove barriers to their goals, which sounds like a wonderful, wonderful desire, and a way to be of service and to make a difference, which fits with our values. So when you have an opportunity, an offer, does it fit with my values? Is it one of the desires of my heart? Does it move me closer to the desires of my heart? Of course, we live in the real world. We have to be realistic. So, we can't every day be sort of taking steps. We can take little steps every day towards the desires of our heart, but we might have to do something that isn't entirely aligned on occasion to earn some money or to stay in food or in clothes or something like that. Okay, so let's just see. Somebody says they'd like to coach, but may need to go back to education. Someone would like to grow as an artist. I like that phrase, grow as an artist, just as I would like to grow as a writer. And somebody says they could speak to other coaches about how they got there. So we're going to come on to the steps we can take in a moment. So you're clear on the desires of your heart. So another way we can make good, healthy decisions is by having a word for 2020, or a word, or a couple of words, or a phrase. So this year for me is all about, or this year I intend to. So you might have seen me comment that this year my words are stretch and share. So stretch because I'm a little frustrated with my body, with my aches and pains, and a bit tired of not being as strong and fit as I'd like to be. So I'd like to be free of aches and pains. And I think one of the ways I need to get there is through stretching and small maintenance steps. Things like Pilates, which I do, but I find rather dull. So that's one thing that's one of my words. And the other is share. So, I can tie myself in knots with my business. But the bottom line is I have huge amounts of information and wisdom and experience that I'd really like to share with people. And I don't want to put barriers up to people. Obviously, I need to earn a living, and I need to charge for some of my work, but how can I share my work widely? And how can that generosity then, that generosity no doubt will then come back and build my business. So I'd like to share more, hence the 4 webinars in January, and I might do a webinar once a month going forwards. So do you have an idea of what your word or words could be? And if so, would you like to share them in the chat? Write them down on your workbook, on your piece of paper. So what might your words be? And just as we ask ourselves about our values and about our desires of our heart, we can ask ourselves, what would my life look like if I'm living in accordance with my words or word? How would I feel if I'm living in accordance with my words? So I would feel healthy, pain-free, and I would feel accomplished, and I would feel generous, and I would feel happy. And when an opportunity comes my way, I can ask myself, is that in line with my word or words for this year? Or how can I go out and find an opportunity that is in line with my word or words? So, like many of you, I imagine I struggle or have struggled with issues like imposter syndrome, low self-esteem, I'm not worthy, who wants to hear my stuff, who do I think I am, all those things. And that can absolutely get in my way and sabotage my progress. So I have to watch that. And, if my word is share, then how can I share my work? How can I get over myself in order to share my work? So I was really happy with myself last week, when I dropped an email to the editor of Psychology's magazine and asked if I could do a Facebook Live again on Valentine's Day. And she said yes. But, for me, there was a whole process running up to that of, will I be wanted? Will I be rejected? Who am I to ask this question? And as a coach, I could be standing here telling you that I'm uber confident 100% of the time, but that wouldn't be real. And that wouldn't be in line with my values of authenticity. So it takes me a lot of effort and courage to pick up the phone to a newspaper editor, to email story ideas to magazines. It takes a huge amount of courage. I have to draw on all my resources. But I do it, and I will continue to do it, and I'll do it more because it fits with my word for this year, and it fits with my values. So how would it feel to live in accordance with your word or words? So I'm just going to see, we have we have an answer. Some words: patience, kindness, self-compassion, respect for self, and perhaps challenging oneself. Yeah, they sound like really good words. So just moving on to also, or building on that exercise about the desires of my heart. What are your priorities for 2020? So start with 3. Keep it simple. What are your priorities? So, mine are writing. I have a book that's been going, that I've been writing and not writing since my early 40s, and I need it finished so I can move on to something else. So writing is one of my priorities. And specifically finishing that book. And, we'll come on in a moment to the steps we can take and the deadlines we can set ourselves to make things happen. But writing is one of my priorities. Adventure is another. So in order to have the adventures that I want, I need my business to be more abundant. But I do have some ideas of adventures with my husband and also with women. So adventure. So I'm going to keep my eye out for adventures. And funnily enough, I've already seen 2 or 3 that I really want to go on. So, the more we identify our priorities, the more things come into our lives that show us the way. And another priority, now I'm going to say love, and in that I'm going to incorporate the idea of getting a dog, because for me that would be love, giving love, receiving love. So what are your priorities? Perhaps a healthy relationship, perhaps a new home, a new career, a healthy body, an adventure, perhaps a hobby, writing, painting, dancing. What are your priorities for this year? Now, again, we don't have a huge amount of time here, so take this away and spend some time on it yourselves. And one way to identify your priorities is to do a vision board. Now, I wanted to have one out, and I don't know where mine are. They should be up on my wall, so that's not ideal. we do vision boards on my retreats together. The first vision board I ever did was on a women's expedition to Mozambique and South Africa. So basically this is, let me just see if I can find one, bear with me. I'm not sure, because I often take them on my retreats or use them in my workshops. So, but basically this is, there's instructions in your workbook, but this is taking some time out, playing some music, lighting a candle, finding your space where you're in tune with yourself, and then go through magazines. You can do it on the internet as well, but I much prefer with photos, but I much prefer to do it sort of hands and knees, you know, scissors, glue, sellotape, and create a collage of the things that are important to you. And just go with your heart, just go with whatever comes, and don't worry too much, go quickly and see what comes up. In my first ever vision board was blogging, and I'm not sure if I'd started to blog, but I wanted to. There was a picture of some women living by the sea, swimming in the sea. There were several dogs, there was an engagement ring, marriage. So many of those things from my vision board have happened. So have a think about doing a vision board. Okay, if you, somebody wants to get closer to knowing about their career change and how to get there, and starting a blog about disability. So what are your priorities? Thank you for sharing, those of you who are in the chat. Okay, so you have your priorities, or you will have when you've spent some time on this exercise, and your next steps. So think about baby steps, think about specific small things, and about low risk moves to begin with. So to give you an idea, I had a desire to move out of London and to live by the sea, and I took a few baby steps. So I spent a weekend living in someone else's house down here in Dorset by the sea. I was dog sitting. I spent another week at somebody's house. I was cat sitting. So I experienced living by the sea, being part of this life down here. How would that suit me? How did I feel when I arrived, and how did I feel when I left? So that was a small, low-risk step that I took to explore whether I actually did want to live by the sea. And then I went to check out some places. I looked at Brighton. Brighton wasn't right for me. I looked at another place, I can't remember its name, and then I kept coming back here. I had friends here. So I took some low-risk steps. I then took more of a risk, but not a massive risk. So I didn't sell my flat. I rented it out, and I came down here to Dorset for 6 months as a trial. And I could always go back. I had an option. So we take tiny steps. And before I rented my flat out in London, I had to take some even smaller steps. So I had to contact the insurance. What did it mean for my insurance to have somebody renting my flat for 3 months or 6 months? So what tiny steps do you need to take? And by when? By when do you need to take those steps? Or by when would you like to take those steps? So perhaps you'd like to be in a healthy and loving relationship. Well, ask yourself if you have your foundations in place, and you can have a look at my book. I have some courses and retreats that really help with that. You could get your photograph taken by a professional photographer. You could sign up on a dating website. You could send a message to your friends and say, hey, I'm available. If you know anyone who's single, send them my way. You could take these small steps. They require courage, but we don't know unless we ask. So what small steps could you take? And in terms of your career, perhaps you want to change your career. So what research do you need to do? Do you need new qualifications? Do you need to speak to somebody in the industry? Do you need to go on a mini training course, low cost, a free day or a low-cost day. If you want to be a coach, there's lots of free training days or low-cost training days that a lot of the coaching providers offer. So what small steps can you take, and when are you going to take them? And some of you might have seen a video that I recorded down at the beach a few days after New Year. No makeup, no lighting, no script, no tripod, but, you know, authentic, real. And I was sharing about why it matters. So why does it matter that we look at our goals and our dreams? And why does it matter that we take steps towards them? Well, as I shared in that video, it matters because time is precious. Our life is precious. As some of you know, my mum is unwell, and I am acutely aware right now of the aging process. I'm 49 in March, 50 the next year. I'm acutely aware of the potential for illness, health problems. I'm acutely aware that my mind might be affected in the same way that my mum's has been and my nana's was before her. And we don't know how long we've got. So we don't know how long we'll be able to run on the beach, how long we'll be able to operate this computer, how long we'll be able to pick up the phone and have a conversation. We don't know. We don't know how long we've got. And I don't say this to panic you, because we don't need panic. We don't need stress. We need ease and flow. And that comes from a place of authenticity and a place of trust and a place of courage. So understanding that our desires, the desires of our heart, are important to us, that they won't just happen on their own. They won't fall out of the sky. I used to think that I would, you know, if I went to the supermarket often enough, that I would meet a really cute guy at the checkout, not on the checkout, but at the checkout. Although there's nothing wrong with supermarket checkout people. I thought I would meet a really cute guy at the supermarket and we would date and fall in love. I just thought it would happen. I thought I'd meet him, you know, on the bus. Every time I got on a plane to fly somewhere, I just was absolutely certain that my husband-to-be would sit down next to me. So I thought he would fall out of the sky. He didn't. I had to take some action. I had to understand where I was going wrong with my relationships. I had to get some help and get some support. I had to take some courageous steps. And I made that happen. You know, if I hadn't done the work, I wouldn't be married. So our dreams, sadly, won't just fall out of the sky. Just another example. So the book that I am trying to finish writing, back in, I was about 43, so it's about 5 years ago. I had written a chapter of that book and I desperately wanted a publisher. I got myself an agent. In fact, I got offers from 5 agents and I thought that was it. I thought I would be famous. I'd have a massive advance and I would be in the window of Waterstones without actually having to write the book. So I hadn't written the book. In fact, I went on Newsnight with Mariella Frostrop for an interview and talked about my book. I hadn't written it. I had 1 chapter. And so I didn't get a book deal. The agents said no. And that was a really interesting lesson for me, because what I have since understood is I actually have to write the book. You know, there might be people out there who write a blog and then get offered a 6-figure publishing deal to turn their blog into a book. That has happened. And I wish that had been me. It hasn't happened to me. So I have to sit down every day and write my words. And that's what I did today. I had a writing day and I wrote some words. I wrote some chapters, and so we have to take the action. So be specific with your actions, take small steps and take low risk moves. And there might be a moment once you've taken those low risk moves that you're ready to leap. So as I did when I moved to the coast, that was it. I'm going to stay and I'm going to buy a house with my partner because our relationship seemed to be strong and working out. So that was a big risk. It was a big leap. But I'd taken the baby steps first. So we take the baby steps and then we're ready to leap. So I'm just gonna move on. Joy. So you'll see in the workbook, let me just check the time. You'll see in the workbook, gosh, time is flying. You'll see in the workbook that there is a whole page dedicated to joy. And this is because it lifts us. It lifts us out of the doldrums. It lifts us up. When we have joy in our lives, we feel more inspired to take action. We feel more courage. We feel, we feel much braver. So here's me paddleboarding out at Old Harry Rocks in the sun on a beautiful day. Gives me a lot of joy. So what brings you joy? So remember to bring lots of joy into your life. So, of course, some of the things, there are things that are going to stop us from achieving our dreams. So I'm going to look at that in a moment. Let me just check on the chat. Yeah, somebody is saying that they feel held back. Well, they're seeing that they feel held back by caring too much about what others think. And it's so important to live a life close to the heart, regardless of fears. That is so true. Thank you for that comment. So, and this brings me on to blocks. So you'll see in the workbook, there's a whole section on blocks. So we have external blocks, external stumbling blocks. Maybe we feel we don't have enough money. Maybe we have a number of dependents. Maybe we have children or elderly relatives that take up time and money and resources and energy. Practicalities, these are the external blocks, and there's a list of some others in the workbook. And then we have our internal blocks, which are much more powerful and deadly. And I've written fear, fear, fear. I've written it 3 times because everything generally boils down to that. So procrastination generally comes out of fear. Perfectionism generally comes out of fear. So have a think about your external blocks and the ways you can move through those blocks. So I put some ideas in the workbook, but money is always an issue for many of us. So how am I going to get around that? Well, if I want to go on an adventure, can I swap my services? Can I offer to coach on the adventure? Can I offer to swap my skills? Can I ask for help? So if I'm caring for somebody, can I ask people to help me 1 day a week so that I can spend time on my dream? So what other practicalities are getting in your way, and how can you get over those? We can sell some of our belongings that might be gathering dust. We can have a think about what skills have I got and how can I earn money from them? And the internal blocks, fear, procrastination, perfectionism, well, there's lots of practical tools to help you to overcome procrastination and perfectionism. But the most important thing is to understand that you're probably afraid, and then to do the personal growth, personal development work that's necessary to help you to walk through those fears. So that's the kind of work I do with my coaching clients around midlife, career change, around finding our passion, and also around relationships and dating. So you might need some support, you might need some help, you might need some guidance. So I use this slide in my Fears and Patterns webinar, my How to Fall in Love, Face Your Fears and Change Your Patterns webinar, and I thought it was really appropriate for this too. So the 3 A's, this will help us to break through our blocks and achieve the desires of our heart. So awareness, getting clear on our heart's desires. So our values, the things that our heart really wants us to accomplish, and what was that other thing? So we had values, the desires, and the word, your word for your year, or words. So getting clear on your heart's desires and also on your stumbling blocks. So what are your stumbling blocks? Because as you gain awareness, then you can change. Change doesn't happen without awareness. So if you're in the awareness and in the pain of awareness, because it hurts when we become aware of the way we've been living and the fact that we haven't been honoring ourselves, then it's a good thing, even though it's painful. You're in the right place, because after the awareness comes the change. No pain, no gain. And then we might need acceptance. So acceptance of our journey to date. So forgiveness of ourselves, so that we don't sort of sink into a depression and beating ourselves up. So acceptance of our journey, acceptance of our struggles, acceptance of any trade-offs we might need to make. So that comes up in the workbook again. Just checking the time. So I might be going over a little bit. I hope that's okay. And acceptance that you might need to make some mistakes. So, you know, we learn by doing, and I say this in dating as much as I say it in career and life. We learn by doing. So, you know, we can sit on our own in a room and get as healthy and balanced and grounded as we can. We can do millions of yoga classes and lots of meditation. But it's only by going out there into the world, by taking a chance, by sending an email, by writing a bit of our book, by asking someone if we can shadow them in their profession. It's only by going out there and doing that we learn. So you might need to go and learn, and you might need to make some mistakes. And, you know, as a perfectionist, die-hard perfectionist, I find it hard to make mistakes. I really do. But, you know, I've made so many mistakes in my business to date, and I wonder if you've noticed. Have you noticed? You might have noticed, and that's fine. But maybe you're still here, even though you've noticed the mistakes, because we're human. We are all human. You know, and what I like when I follow a lot of people on social media, some of them absolutely blow my mind because they're so perfect. They seem to have absolutely everything together. And I have a real temptation to buy their stuff and follow them. And then I come across someone else who is being real and vulnerable and honest and sharing their mistakes. And I think, actually, I want to follow you. So, you know, we have respect for people who make mistakes. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. And accountability. So this is key. So in order to make change in our lives, we can't do it on our own. I mean, you might be able to, but it has never been my experience or the experience of any of my clients or people I've met who've made big change in their lives. They've never done it on their own. They have support from friends, relatives, colleagues, from a coach, a counselor, a network of people. So over the last 17 years, when I have been on my personal development journey, making huge changes, I have had the support of a therapist, coaches, groups of people making similar changes. I've had the support more recently of my husband, but it has been really important to me to find professionals who will support me and keep me accountable. Right now, I have a business mentor who is wonderful, provided by the council, so he's not very expensive, and I feel accountable to him. I feel accountable to him. So find someone to whom you can feel accountable. And often it turns out that we often feel more accountable if we're actually spending our hard-earned money and we're making an investment in ourselves. So who can you be accountable to? Who can help you? It might be good enough for you to have a buddy, to have a friend, to have an accountability partner. But the actions that you have identified, by when are you going to take them? And who is going to encourage you to take them and nudge you when you haven't taken them? So the 3 A's: awareness, acceptance, accountability. How are you going to find support? So this is for something for you to brainstorm. You could write in the chat if you have any immediate ideas, but how are you going to find support? Who is going to help you? Who are you going to bookend your steps with? And when I say bookend, I mean either end. When we're about to do something and we tell someone, I am going to send this email, I am going to do this piece of research, and we tell them in advance, and then we tell them afterwards when we've done it. So who is going to help you to bookend your actions? How are you going to find support? So have a think about that. You might want to write this down. don't go it alone. I just put up this picture because it absolutely makes me smile. So this was from my How to Fall in Love retreat in Turkey in October last year, and we're going again in October 2020. You know, I created a wonderful network of women. They chose to come on my retreat, and magic happens when we bring together these wonderful women. We support each other. And so don't go it alone. And I just have another, find a friend or some friends. And this photo is taken from my Dorset retreat. Again, women coming together to help each other. We learn from each other. There's a real power in doing things in groups. That's why I run a lot of group courses. I have one coming up, which I'll explain in a minute. So find a friend or friends. So we're coming to the end of, I don't want to run over too much. So we've still got some stuff to cover. But I just want to, I just want to wrap up 2020. So there are a number of exercises in your workbook to help you imagine that you are at the end of the year and that you have accomplished your goals and your dreams. So how does that feel? How does that feel? And work backwards. So you have this end of year feeling, and then you want to work backwards. What do I need to do, perhaps each month or each week, in order to arrive at that feeling, at that place, at that vision? And we also happen to be at the start of a new decade. So the same applies. Everything that I've been through on this webinar about 2020 applies to the decade, but on a much bigger scale. 1 second. Oops. So I have suggested a few exercises in the workbook, and one of them is around your dream decade and imagining your end of decade party. So I will be 58. So at 58, January, in 10 years time from now, where am I? Who am I with? And how do I feel? And what have I achieved? For me, there has to be some books. There has to be a whole load of books, poems and novels and a literary career. I think that's what I think today. There has to be a dog. Good relationships, not only with my husband, but lots of friends and a sense of community. So I've moved out of London, where I had a good community, down to Dorset, and it's taking time to build up my community. I'm getting there, but it takes time. So I want to be surrounded by a community. I want to be wearing beautiful clothes, effortless clothes that make me feel that attractive and in which I can flow, clothes that make me feel at ease, and lots of adventures, lots of memories, lots of photos. So imagine your end of decade party. Where are you? Who are you with? How do you feel? What have you achieved? So there's a few things you can do with this outside of this webinar. When we've finished, you can do a vision board about that party. That might take a bit of time, but have a look through your magazines or through newspapers or on the internet, find some photos. You can create a vision board of your end of decade party. And then once you have your vision board, you want to identify some steps that you need to take every year, perhaps, in order to get to that end of decade scene. Excuse me. You could just do a drawing with pen and paper, drawing of you, a drawing of other people, the people who are there, the things that you've accomplished, and so forth. So your end of decade party. Or you can write it out. Who's there? What have you done? Who's by your side? All those things, you can write it out. So your dream decade. And there was also an exercise in the workbook about writing a little letter to ourselves. So, dear Catherine, congratulating ourselves for all the things that we've done in the last year or in the last decade to make our dreams happen. So, for example, congratulations, Catherine. Well done for prioritizing Tuesday as your writing day. Well done for shutting down WhatsApp and texts and emails and focusing. Now, this is so hard. I had a writing day today, 2 hours in, 3 hours in, I'm opening up WhatsApp. I'm thinking about this webinar. So, it's difficult, but congratulate yourself for the steps that you have taken. Well done. Well done. And insert your name and then write a letter. So I'm going to start wrapping up. I'm just going to give a brief overview of some of the things that I've got in order to support you. And then we're going to have some questions and answers. And I hope you have some questions for me. And then we are going to, if anyone wants to know anything more about my courses and my retreats and so forth, I'm going to stay on for a bit longer and talk you through them. So if a relationship, love, happy, healthy relationship is one of your goals for 2020, then you have to join my course, my How to Fall in Love small group course. It starts on January the 20th. And it includes one-to-one coaching with me and group coaching. And as I've said, there is incredible power in group work. So think about that. Limited spaces, I'd love you to join. My Dorset retreat, again, a How to Fall in Love retreat for women who are looking for a happy, healthy relationship. That's a wonderful opportunity. There'll be another one in May. I'm also looking at doing a freedom retreat. So keep your eyes out for that. That is freedom from everything. Freedom from dysfunctional behaviors, from bad habits, from procrastination and fear and all these things. It's going to be amazing and involve some fantastic dance. So that's going to be later in the year. I've got my love retreat in Turkey in October. That's also going to be glorious. Limited places on that, so please get in touch. Just to say, the Dorset retreat, the early bird is available until Monday, January the 17th, and then the price goes up by £50. And I have one-to-one coaching, so that is for midlife mentoring. If you're ready to change the course of your career, of your life, if you'd like some support with that, or if you'd like to look into love, dating and relationships and like some support with that. So just a couple of lovely testimonials. Rachel says that her experience of working with me has been really profound. I'm very, very good at what I do. Thank you, Rachel. And we've got to the bottom of stuff that I've never been able to understand before. And I love that quote because, there are so many options for coaches and so forth. And, you might work better with somebody else. We are all different. But I do know that I do help clients to get to the bottom of stuff that they've never been able to understand before. And one of my clients who's getting married this year, who came to me as a single woman, she's imagining a future with a truly amazing, fun and secure person, which I never thought possible or experienced. So there is hope and I'd love to support you. So we're going to do a Q&A now if there are any questions. So please ask if you have any questions. I'm offering a free 30-minute discovery call this week. So I'll put some more dates in for next week as well. I especially cleared my diary this week because my course starts on Monday. But so I need to be busy with my course next week, but I will create more space next week for calls. So I'm just going to, I'm going to move to a different screen. And in the meantime, I'd love to know if you have any questions. A few things I'm going to do while you're thinking about any questions. This is I'm going to put these things in the chat. This is my Deconstructing My Decade blog. And if you don't have my book, I thought I'd just add that as well. Because it's not just about love, it's about changing your life. So let me know if you have any questions, and as you think about that, I'll just keep talking. So I wanted to, and I'll pause if any questions come in. I just wanted to tell you about the various courses I have right now. My courses are focused on love, my online courses, my group courses, but I will have a course I just need to build it. I've got all the content. I just need to create the videos. So I will have a course on Relight Your Fire, Find Your Passion and Purpose in due course. With these courses, don't worry about the number of lessons. It can seem a little daunting. It's just the platform. Every time I say welcome to Wednesday, it counts that as a lesson. But I have this on offer, this course right now. It's a 1-week course, and that's for reconnecting with your true self and your intuition, which is incredibly helpful to understand what we want from life and why we might not have made those things happen, how we might have sabotaged ourselves in the past. So that's on offer for another week. And then my How to Fall in Love course is available as a self-paced, but this is the group course. Now, if you can't make the calls, please have a chat with me, because there are possibilities of flexibility around the call times, and also about me maybe offering more one-to-one if you can't make the calls. So do get in touch. It's an incredible course and transformational. And, you know, I've got some testimonials here of people who have felt entirely different after the course. So Bryony says it was a really wonderful, positive experience. Feels completely different to 5 weeks ago. And Gemma said the same. Feel like I'm in an entirely different place to where I was a month ago, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So if you need to talk to me about, or if you'd like to talk to me about the course, and if you would like to change your mindset and your attitude, do get in touch. I can see there's a couple of questions, so I'll come to those now. Just to show you my love retreat. So there's the link. There are my beautiful ladies jumping for joy. And here's my Turkey retreat. And as you can see, we've got some fabulous photos. And we had so much fun. I also have a small community for women who are dating and looking for love. It's called the Love Ladies Community, and membership is currently on offer at £20 a month. So ask me about that. And I will send you the email follow-up, and I'll also, I just want to send you now the link to set more, where is it? Yeah, I just want you to send, I want to send the link for how to book a call with me, and I don't know where it is. So I'm just gonna, let's see if I can get it here. There we go. Oh no, that's not it, sorry. I know where it is. It's on my Word docs on links. So I'll just put that in the box, and then I'll answer your questions. Thanks for your patience. Okay, I'll come back to that. So let me just see what people, so somebody would like to have a discovery call. That's great. So have a look at my calendar, and if you can't find a date that suits you, then drop me an email, but I can do 6 p.m. on some evenings. I know it's difficult when you work full time. So if there isn't a 6 p.m. on my calendar, I'll drop you a message. Actually, I have your name here and I have your email, so I'll drop you a message. Do I need to do the deconstruct the past decade, the past year, decade before going ahead with the 2020 vision? I'm just going to change my back screen. You don't need to, no. And I imagine there are lots of people who are doing the 2020 vision without doing the Deconstruct Your Decade. So don't worry about it. You might want to whiz through it. So if I put the link, it's the same link as, oh, it's gone. Yeah, it's the same link here. There it is in PDF. So if I put that there to everyone, you might just want to whiz through it and pick up some of the key questions. You don't need to do the whole thing. And yeah, just have a quick look through it and then go on to the 2020 vision. It's just useful to take stock of where we've come from. It helps us to build on into the future. And somebody's going to contact me about the course. That's great. And about the retreat. So we can have, yeah, there are options to pay for it over over various stages, and age suitability for the course. So my course, the women who work with me tend to range between late 30s and 50s and 60s. So I have had somebody on my retreat who was 71. I've had some interest in my course from somebody who was over 70. Most of my clients are in their 40s and 50s, and some of them are in their 30s. I think I might have had someone on a retreat who was in her 20s, but that's rare. Most of my clients are, at that age and stage when we're starting to wonder about life and how come it's worked out like this and what do I want from it. So in order to access these links, they'll all be in an email that I will send out tomorrow morning. Otherwise, yeah, I probably won't manage to do that tonight. So I'll send it out to my mailing list tomorrow morning and you'll have that email. But I just wanted to see if I can get my appointment up for you, my calendar, so then you can click on it. Links. Okay, why isn't that working? No, that's not it. Okay, so what I will do, it's not playing ball. It's not showing up for me right now. So I will put the links. Yeah, masterclass links. There we go. I knew it was there somewhere. Oh no, it's not there. Okay. Let me. If you want the link to the yeah, I know I can find it now. Actually, I'm gonna stop looking for it, and what I'm going to do is send reassure you that you will receive the links by email, and everything will be there, and it will all be really clear. So I am going to yeah. I don't know why I can't find that. I can keep looking. I can keep looking if you can bear with me, because I know it's in my. If I stop sharing, and then if I just get my email open, that's what I wanted to do. But I didn't want to open my email in front of you all. So I'll just get that link for the calls, for you to book a call with me. So, and I can see there's another question. If you have any other questions, please ask. I'm happy to answer them. I'll be here for a few more minutes. And here's the link to, okay. Let's see if this works. Okay. Okay, I have it. Thanks for your patience. Back to Zoom and chat. There we go. So that's the link to book a 30-minute discovery call with me. Thanks for your patience. That was supposed to be easily available. So just take a copy of that, and it will also be in the email to you. So yeah, I don't know if there are any other questions. If there are, please please put them in the chat. I'd love to know if this was helpful. You know, it's a whistle-stop tour, and you do have my workbook, and hopefully that will help you work through some of these questions. And do remember why it's so important. Why is it important to you to make your dreams happen? So yeah, thanks very much. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm just going to type my email here as well. Thank you very much. A lovely comment there. And do check out, if relationship is one of your things, do check out my webinars, my YouTube webinars. I was going to put those in the comment as well. And thank you very much. Yeah, somebody else has said that they found it really helpful, so that's great. This is my YouTube. I'm not the biggest YouTuber yet, but this is where you will find all the videos that I've done recently, including the couple of webinars. If you're on my mailing list, you'll have the links there, so no need to worry about that. But yeah, thanks a lot, and I will see you next time. If you're joining me on Thursday, it's at 1 o'clock lunchtime, so you might want to watch on catch up, or you might want to watch in your lunch hour, and I hope to do a webinar every month going forwards. Take care then, and I will see you soon. Bye.